Welcome to Focus on the Candidates. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Justin Ford. Justin is running for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois. So, Justin, what made you decide to run for office?
So I like to tell people I'm not a politician. Obviously, I am now, but I work full time still. I really just feel like we need a different direction in the country, and I'm not seeing it from the candidates that I get to vote for. And so I like to use the Baldwin quote about books. If there's a book that you really want and hasn't been written, you got to write it. I think it's
That's
similar with candidates. You know,
mm-hmm.
if I'm not seeing the candidate I want, I guess I got to go out there and see if other people want what I want, and I'm going to push for that. So I like to tell people I do not want to be their next representative. I want to get things done. If I can't get things done, I'm not going to run for reelection because right now people are hurting around the country and we need to take that seriously and we need to deliver. One thing is, obviously, we're in a very Democratic district. So I'm going to be very Democratic, meaning, big D Democratic, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't agree with Donald Trump's policies. But to beat Donald Trump and those policies, you need policies of your own. You need, things you're going to do. We've done the, well, he's so horrible election twice and he won both times,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's been my push. And I'm like, I am worried about this country. I'm worried about the direction. And I'm worried that both parties are just falling into this name calling back and forth rather than delivering for the American people. And I want to refocus the Democratic Party, and especially in Illinois' ninth, to focus on what can we do to deliver for the residents of Illinois ninth. And let's not just spend our time talking about how bad things are in Washington.
Things are bad in Washington. They're bad in, you know, down ballot races. There's a clique everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Okay. And outsiders are not welcome into that clique. Okay. So, how do you break that cycle?
Well, I mean, I think we see the same thing. There's a saying in Chicago: nobody wants somebody that nobody sent, right? which is true of every district.
Which is
I think,
something that was a slogan for Barack Obama, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. No, they went after Barack Obama too. Um, and and yeah, I mean, he's a product of Illinois politics, and it's rough. And the fact that he got through it's impressive. Um, my way of looking at it is I might not win. I plan on winning, but I might not win. But I am going to move this place. I am the union candidate. I've been pushing unions, and I've already seen in forums and things that I'm starting to move the other candidates. I have a tendency not to go in with suits on and try to look like I normally do at work and like most of us normally do in our day in life. And I've noticed some of the men say, "No, I should do better and not look like this." I notice that I'm impacting the race and I'm pushing these candidates and I'm pushing ideas. I want to push those ideas so that we can get them across the finish line in Washington.
Mhm.
But if I can't, I'm going to die trying to get them into this election cycle, at least in Illinois' ninth. And I'm going to
Mhm.
push these people. What I like to tell people is we're a gerrymandered district. So whoever wins the primary will be your next representative in Illinois. It's by design. We're like plus 20 Democrat. You don't have to worry about wasting your vote. Pick who you want. Pick who you
Mhm.
want. And you're right. A lot of people, you start by being, working on a congressional office, and then you go and you join state politics, and then eventually you can get up and you can, like, that's the politician way of moving up the career ladder.
Mhm.
Do we want to reward that, which is the same thing we've always been sending to Washington? Do we want to reward the really wealthy people or the media personalities? We've sent those guys as well, right? Maybe a public health professional that actually works for a living, has worked his entire life, that says, "Hey, I want to work for you in Washington and see if I can't get some things done." Maybe that's a better choice. And that's the one I'm giving to Illinois 9. Is this the type of candidate you want? If not, I'm going to support whichever Democrat wins this primary. I might not go knock on doors for them. I might go to Wisconsin or Iowa to knock on doors, but like I will continue to fight for what I believe in. This is part of that fight. And if you can
So,
stand with me in Illinois 9, then we can fight together, right?
so a lot of times when somebody's running for office and they're the favored candidate, nobody looks into who's funding them. And the funding them is very important because then you might know why they're taking the stance that they do.
Yeah.
And
Well, and it
and
seems like if you get a career politician that's been bought several times, then you know what they're going to be fighting for, right? They've already, I mean, even if it's not for this race, if they've been around for a while and they've had several races, they need those people to back them in the next one, and they're not going to fight so much for the representative, the people they should represent, as much as the people that are supporting them. That's one of the things I tell like unions. It's like if you want a union candidate, if you want one, we're all going to vote union. I'm the one that's saying union. I'm the one coming out saying we need to democratize our workforce to democratize the country, right? I'm the one pushing that. You get on board with me early, you'll always have me, right? You come in late after somebody else is the favorite and got one, they're going to support, the trial lawyers or whoever got them in place, right? That's who they're going to listen to more, right? Um, so yeah, I do think that we have to look at funding in this race in particular. I'm not overly worried about special interest dollars. It's just such a democratic seat. You're going to see a lot of the people say they don't want to take PAC money. I'll take PAC money from AFL-CIO, right? Like I'll take it from certain groups. Um, I won't, I haven't taken it. Nobody wants to offer me PAC money at the moment. They want to see who gets on the ballot. but, but we can do a better job as Democrats kicking the tires of these candidates to make sure we know they're going to fight for us, right? I think the other problem that's really prevalent in these down ballot races, not presidency, not governors, is that there's like the New York Yankee effect. Everybody likes the Yankees because they win all the time, right? Everybody likes Manchester United because they win all the time. Everybody thinks they're going to be clever by picking the person that's going to win, and that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Everybody gets behind one person, and you're like, do you want them to win? I mean, if you want them to win, vote for them. But if you want somebody else to win, vote for them, you know?
Mhm.
And that's, I think, something we can do better.
A lot of times people will look and see who's running, and you know, most times they look for who's won before, and they say, "This is the guy that I'll vote for because he's won before."
Yeah. Yeah. And
Hmm.
that's the incumbent advantage, right? Like we were talking before here that Jan Schakowsky's been a fantastic representative for the district. She's been there forever, and she hasn't had to run many reelection campaigns. Very few people have even gotten on the primary ballot to go against her. And then the general elections are, like I said, it's a gerrymandered district. It will be a Democrat. So, and she's delivered for the district, and the representative before her did as well. But it leads to every now and then being a race, and that leads to some problems, right? Because then everybody jumps in, and then with the idea that this is a job you can have for your life. I don't think we should think of it that way. I think we should have to fight for it every election cycle. That's one of the benefits of having elections in the House every 2 years. You have to go back to the voters every 2 years and say, this is what I've delivered for you. This is what I've done. Do you want me to again? And that's one of the problems with gerrymandering, right? Is that it does do that. It sort of limits the ability to actually challenge those people.
Is Schakowsky running again?
No, she is retiring. That's why there are over 20 Democrats running in the race that
Come
have filed
on.
FEC. Yeah, yeah, over 20. And many established politicians. There aren't a lot of opportunities. When you become an alderman in Chicago, most of those people stay there for their entire careers. They don't
Mm.
move up. When you become a state rep or state house, there's not a ton of movement. And so when a seat opens up like a representative seat, um, the career politicians need those. That's their way of getting promotions, right? So everybody who this would be a step up from that's in the district, it seems like, wants to run. And then you have these citizen people like me who just want to like let's go shake things up. And other people are like, hey, wait, I've been working my entire career so I could have the seat, right? I don't believe that that's going to make the country better. I think shouldn't reward who's next in line as much as who's going to fight the most for us. That's what we need to
And
go after.
so you're not a career politician.
Nope.
How has the press been dealing with you? Or how have you been dealing with the press?
Chicago's a big market, so there's a couple people that pay attention. When I first announced, I was relatively early in the race. I got some attention from the press. With 20 people running, they're sort of focusing on certain people, and they're trying to see where things shake out. So the election's in March. So a lot of people aren't paying that close of
Right.
attention yet. When I talk to different groups, including press, I do rather well. You give me, long, like we are, a little bit longer to explain myself. I do okay. I think they find me interesting. I think a lot of them are like, we don't know you. I'm like, of course you don't. I'm not a politician. My job hasn't been to get my name out there, right?
Mhm.
But hopefully over the campaign, we'll prove to them that we're a good campaign and we have some great ideas, and we're going to push those ideas, and we're going to use that to try to push the ninth district forward. You know.
And so before Tchaikovsky declared that she was not running again, did you have designs on the seat?
Um, I did not have designs specifically for Illinois' ninth congressional seat. I was very interested in Iowa's first, which has Bohannon in it, and I lived there for a long time.
Mhm.
When I moved to Chicago, I sort of like, well, Tchaikovsky's there, but I heard she was retiring. So we knew she was going to retire months and months before the official announcement. There was rumor, and so I was preparing to run then. Um, Not knowing there'd be this many people in the race.
Mhm.
So I announced relatively early. I think I announced a week before her official announcement of her retirement, because I wanted to be in all the articles that talk about her retirement. Another candidate announced well before me, but I knew she was going to retire when I announced. I don't know if it would make sense. Jan Schakowsky was a fantastic representative for us. Um, the last thing I would want to do is damage that. Not that I think I could, but I wouldn't want to necessarily go against that incumbent. It would have been fun to try to get in the race because she hadn't run against anybody in a primary for a while, just to prove I could. But other than that, um, I hadn't really thought too much about it until I found out she was going to retire.
So you're running in Chicago, right?
I live in Chicago. The district goes from parts of northern Chicago up to Evanston, Wilmette, over to Skokie, and then goes quite a ways away, maybe about 100 miles away, up to Algonquin and Crystal Lake. So when I say it's a
Okay.
gerrymandered district, that's what it is. They steal a lot of liberal votes from Chicago, and then they start going out to the farther counties.
So you have urban and rural in your district.
Yeah, they like to tell me they're not rural, but urban, suburban, and exurban. I come from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so my definition of rural is a little different anyway. And so, but yeah,
Mhm.
you got some farm fields in my district and things like that, but it's not quite what you'd find in like Western Illinois or Southern Illinois.
What makes you a unique candidate?
I think I think that we don't haven't had a lot of public health professionals get elected to Congress, so that's one of the
Okay.
unique things. Um, we don't get a lot of Upers. I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so we don't get a lot of those folks. But I think what's more important is in this cycle, what I'm trying to do, and we will find out if I'm correct, is push ideas. We push ideas as candidates, especially as Democrats. We don't do well with fear. Fear is not a plan, right? And hope without anything isn't going to get you anywhere either. You need to start to deliver for people. So when I look at my website versus my competitors say a lot of things. I have an actual plan, and I've trimmed it down some just because nobody wants to read 30 pages for everything, right?
Mhm.
Why don't we start electing people based on what they want to do rather than who they are? I've always said, like, I'm tired of voting for people because they want to be president. What do you want to do as president? Being president's one thing. What do you want to do as president? Right?
Mhm.
I don't want to vote for a representative to Congress because they earned it. What are you going to do for me once you get there? What's your plan? And don't tell me everything you've done in your past. That's great. Tell me what you want to do. You're going to get this seat. What do you want to do? If I was going to have somebody build me a house, I wouldn't just pick them. They say, well, I built that house and that house. Well, he'd be good at building the house. Here you go. Give me the plans of what you want to do for the house. Then I'll
Mm,
pick the guy that's building my house, right? If you want to send somebody, if you want to get somebody to do work, a surgeon, they're going to tell you what they're going to do. Not, well, I've done so many heart surgeries. I'm just going to do the same thing I did for everybody else, right? No, no, no.
mm.
Tell me what you're going to do, right? So why do we do that with politicians? Why are we like, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this. Great, good job, nice. What do you want to do now, right? You weren't a representative before. Now you're a representative to Congress. What are you going to do with that? And we'll see if I can get people to focus on that. That's what I want people to focus on. That's what I think the Democrats need to do to push this country forward. We're the country. We're the ones that come up with the ideas. That's what progressives do. We progress forward. We push ideas. And conservative movement's very important to sort of like put some guardrails on and say, wait about this, what about that? They sort of fight us on our ideas, right? And so part of the problem we're having in the country is Democrats need to push more ideas. We need to push forward, and then we can start talking about policy rather than just, our personalities.
So, have you ever run for office before?
No, no, I've worked on campaigns as volunteers. I've been involved in politics in that regard. And I tell people this all the time, I like to be the glue guy. It's hard to find somebody to make phone calls for you or write postcards. Those people are hard to get. And so those are what candidates need. But I don't want to work for a candidate I don't believe in, right? So I want to be that candidate for other people. Um, and so that's why I did this. I think, you got to start with one race or another. Chicago is a tough place for politics because it's not like it's easy to get on city council, right? Or school board. All of those fights are big fights. There's lots of people that want to be on them. So this was a good one for me to start with, even though it's a pretty high office for your first office to shoot for. Um, I think it was an opening. So it made sense if I want to push my ideas to take the opening I can get.
So, I just by looking at you, um, I assume that you were either not born or a small child during the Daley administration.
Well, the first daily, no. I mean, so I wasn't living in
First
Chicago there. The
Daley,
second, the second daily I was here for. But the first daily I was not. Uh, yeah, I mean, Chicago politics is a machine, right? But
right?
let me take that. So we haven't talked much about my ideas, but I
Okay.
take some of that senior Daley's political philosophy to heart. One of the things he said that I think is really true is you put money where people can see it, right? It's great to fix the potholes and stuff. That's important, and it's great to do the underground stuff. That's fine, but you need a park bench. You need to put things where people can actually enjoy them because they don't see all the other stuff. You can do a great job on preventative maintenance, but you need to put some money where people can see. The second daily put in a lot of bike lanes, which I used to bike down to school, so I really enjoyed. I'm pushing a 4-day work week. Why? Is it the most important thing in our society? No, although I think we'd all enjoy an extra day off, right? But because it's something but that will be tangible for every working American, all of them. Not only that, it'll increase workforce participation, so it'll help Social Security, right? It that's the daily method, right? Put it where people can see it, right? So when they say, "What have Democrats done for me?" Well, I guess I get 4-day work week. We can run on that for a long time. I think we can pass it this next House section if we really double down on it. But the reason I'm doing that is so that Democrats can start winning elections again. You got to put things where people can see it. You got to have a tangible impact on people's lives. I think Biden did a lot of great things, but I don't think most people felt it, right?
Why is that?
Because the policies that they're doing are not thought of as for working people. They're thought of as this is a good thing to do for our economy, and that'll trickle down kind of. Even the Democrats fall for that. We're going to do these great things. One of the things that Barack Obama did wrong is that he gave a bunch of checks back to us during the '08 crisis, right? But they wanted to do it. They like gave us money back from payroll taxes for a bit to try to stimulate the economy. But all the economists at the time said, don't tell people they're getting it because then they'll save it, right? Instead, just let it go and not tell them, and then they will spend it more, which is really good policy. But it's really bad politics because nobody thought Donald Trump will put his name on anything he thinks. If he's going to give you guys a check, do you think he wouldn't put his name on it? That's the daily idea, right? Is put it where they can see it. We needed bigger billboards. We needed more vociferous fighting for the Build Back Better plan to say, hey, this is what it's doing for you. These are the jobs it's bringing. But even then, and I know this from working in industry, I could tell people when they were hired under a government program, I could tell which one it was. But they didn't think that they got hired because of the government, right? They got hired because they worked hard, which it makes sense. You know, we interviewed them and we hired them. They don't see it as something they're getting like that. We have to start thinking about what can we give people that they'll see as getting, you know? Um, I think Democrats have too much been focused on good governance. Nothing wrong with that. We should have a good governance. We should fix the potholes and fix the deep water sewers and things like that. But we also need to do park benches. We need to we need to do things. You know, I want to shore up Social Security now, not wait until we get to a failure point, right? We know how to do it. Let's actually do it. So everybody's like, oh, and they can feel better about Social Security. But then let's modernize it and offer some more opportunities for people who want to retire different and the Uber drivers and folks like that. Why can't we do that as Democrats? Why can't we actually deliver in ways that matter to people so that they say, oh, let's give them another shot? The Democrats have done fantastic. When we've been in power, they've had the best economies in the world. We hand over to the Republicans and they screw it over every single time. But nobody sees that, right? That's not what people see. Like the policy wonks can see it and go, oh, these were good policies. But what people see is the fact that they can't buy a house anymore. That childcare is so darned expensive,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we don't fix those problems as Democrats, nobody's going to care what we do. Nobody's going to care about a new bridge or this great whatever thing. They're just going to keep voting. They vote for the most disruptive candidates they can. Why? Because they're upset with the way the system's working. We need to fix the system.
Um, I think that, I watch the news, I watch alternative media. I'm a big YouTube fan as well as a YouTuber myself.
Yes.
But out of everything that you mentioned, I think one of the most important issues is the divide between the Republicans and the Democrats keep getting wider and wider and more vicious, more hateful. That, in my opinion, is the number one issue for me. How do you stop all this hatred?
So if I'm having a fight with somebody else, right, just personally, we'll just use this personally first because I think it'll bleed into this. I can't control what the other person says to me. I cannot control what they give to me. I can only either accept that or not, and I can control what I say back, right? I've talked a little bit about Republicans just as a contrast, but I'm pushing ideas. I'm not vilifying because we don't win those elections, right? I think we need, as Democrats, or if you're a Republican and you're concerned about this too, take a step back and stop doing it. Stop partaking. If we stop partaking, if people stop clicking on the rage bait on YouTube, it'll stop getting monetized, right? If this is something you don't like, you need to start at home first because I can't control anybody else. I can control myself,
Right,
right? My campaign's not going to be about vilifying Republicans because, to be honest with you, my campaign is about trying to win more Republicans over to Democrats because we lost them. So
right,
vilifying doesn't do any good. If Democrats can start to do that and we can start fighting over policy again rather than personality, we're not going to see this vitriol. This is by design. This is exactly what they want us to do is fight one another and at back big up. There are big problems in our society where people don't think they can afford to live anymore, where the American dream is not believed in anymore, right? Those are huge problems that we need to start to fix, and we're not going to fix it when we're on each other's throats. And we need both parties to get it done. We need
mhm,
everybody to get involved. So to start that that journey, right? We can start by us as Democrats not using hatred and using vitriol and seeing who can do the best zingers against Donald Trump in order to get elected. We shouldn't reward that. That's my take. I don't think we should reward that. We should reward somebody who wants to be good governance, wants to have good policies, wants to push things, not somebody who's against something, somebody who's for something. And if we start being for things rather than against things, I think we're going to do a much better job to stem some of these things. And I worry that we're going to become like Northern Ireland, right? During the Troubles,
That's bad.
right? Well, there's going to be, it's not going to touch you personally very often, right? It's not like you're going to see the car bombs, but there'll be a car bomb, there'll be an assassination. We've seen a few political assassinations in the last few months. Do you think it'll stop? We need to stop it. And we need to stop it by stop engaging with it. Stop engaging with that kind of rhetoric. Let's all pull back. And if we can all pull back personally, if enough of us do that, then people will give you what you want. Cat videos or something like that, you know.
I think that the Charlie Kirk assassination is going to be not too pleasant for our society. What do you think?
I think that it is going, I really believe, and I do not want this to happen, this will not be the end. We saw the Minnesota lawmakers that were assassinated. We saw Governor Shapiro's house get arson. We saw Nancy Pelosi's husband get attacked. We saw Donald Trump have an assassination attempt against him,
Right.
right? We are not done. We are not done with this. If we do not turn the page in this country and stop making this a us versus them debate, right? And that we're at each other's throats, there's always going to be somebody who takes it a little too far, a little too far, a lot too far, right? Um, and it's easy to take the bait as Democrats because there's lots of things they do. But then if you're a Democrat, strong Democrat, you're like, yeah, but they do all these horrible things. That's what the Republicans say too, that we do all these horrible things. Let's take
Mhm.
a step back. Let's push policy. Let's push ideas. Let's talk about ideas. You know, let's go back to politics. You know, and that's what keeps us from trying to make might equals right. You know, which is what we're in right now, and is a problem. And I don't think we're going to look at the Charlie Kirk assassination. Unfortunately, my view is we're not going to look at it as anything special in a while any more than Sandy Hook gets talked about much anymore. You know, like
Mhm.
that was a big deal, and I thought that was going to be a turning point. It wasn't,
Mhm.
right? And this is just another like, oh my God. And then we're going to go on. Somebody else will be killed. Something else will happen. And like I said, it'll be like Northern Ireland, where something happens every couple months.
So you're talking like from what can elected officials do, but what can the average person do to make all of this violence stop?
So that's what I'm saying. Stop clicking on rage bait on YouTube. They're watching what you're doing. So that's one thing you can do. Start electing people not based on how much vitriol they have and how mean they can be, but based on their ideas. And then you don't participate. Don't join in on the discussion group saying the thing that you hate the most or whatever, whatever. Don't get involved in this devolution. If two people are fighting really badly, it's good just to split them up and let them take a break. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, right?
Mm,
We know this. Why? Because it's hard to unsay things. It's hard to back down from things. I cannot ask everybody to have a lot of empathy for the other side. I can say, I want to have empathy for the other side. And it's the
mhm.
same thing for every other person. I can encourage them that they cannot participate in this divisive politics. And they can just say, I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to elect people that participate. I'm not going to watch those videos. YouTube will watch, will listen. TikTok will listen. They will stop it. Because if they're not getting the engagement, they'll move to what does get the engagement. They're just a business. They just want the most clicks. They want the most attention watched. Unfortunately, people tend to watch things that make them mad. They tend to engage with things that make them mad. And so we keep giving them things that make them mad. And some people get really mad and they do things they shouldn't.
So, what interests do you have outside politics?
So it's a good question. So before politics, because right now working full time and being a political candidate is my interest. I did improv before the pandemic. Pandemic sort of stopped that. I did improv. I started improv because I wanted to improve my communication skills and I wanted to
Pretty
improve.
cool.
Yeah, so I wanted to improve. And it's funny because I did improv when I was in Iowa, right? So so in improv, you get this idea of yes and, right? And my father was a lawyer, so I tended to have this very argumentative way of trying to solve problems. You give me
Mm.
an idea and I argue back. Improv really helped me. As an adult, it's weird. There's very few things you can do to do that, where it really helped me go, I shouldn't just always attack an idea and make them defend it as a way to come up with a better idea. I should always just, I can build with them too, right? Okay, yeah, that's fine. And what if we try this too, right? Good improv is very collaborative and it builds upon each other and you get more than the sum of your parts. And so that's something that I think would go well in politics. It'd be great if everybody in Congress tried some improv, right? So they could learn how to listen well, because you have to listen really well in improv so you can understand what the other person's saying, because you're about to build on it, right? You're not just cherry picking the ideas you don't like. You want to build on what they're saying, and then you build up. And so I think it's a fantastic medium for communication. I would recommend it to people. Even if you don't like improv theater, you might find you do like it after you try it. There's a lot of bad improv out there because it's really hard to do, to listen really well and to build on it. And the other thing my brothers are really into, and so I want to spend time with them, disc golf. I'm not much of a disc golfer. I can't throw very far. I'm an okay putter, but I've been in tournaments. I tend to finish last, but I enjoy them. It's a very nice community. You get outside. It's very cheap. You're not getting the greens fees you do with regular golf. It's a little faster than regular golf. Doesn't take as much time, and I can spend it with my family. So it's a fun activity to do outdoors, especially during the pandemic when improv sort of fell away. Disc golf sort of picked up because we couldn't work with each other, but we can go out in the field and throw discs, right? Um, so those are the two main things. I've done, community plays in the past, and I've obviously worked in other political campaigns. I've done a lot of different things to sort of, um, you know, use my time wisely and try to grow as a human being. Um, I have two kids, so they took a tremendous amount of my time for a long time. They're a bit older now, but yeah, so I mean, I think that's the other reason I wouldn't have gotten into politics when I had small children. I don't think I had the time. I couldn't have done it.
Just talking to you, you remind me of Chuck Todd.
Well, thank you. Uh,
One last question. If your fairy godmother came down and handed you her magic wand and said, "You have one wish to make this country better," what would that wish be?
um, I think what I would really like is the people that make policies and the people that make the rules. All of those people should be making those rules before they knew where they were going to end up in society. And we made a system that was fair for everybody because you didn't know where you were going to end up, right? And we could make all those rules not knowing that we were going to be in this position or that position, right?
Mhm.
Um, if we could do that, we could take everybody out. Like these are smart people and say, okay, you don't know if you're going to be rich, you don't know if you're poor, you don't know if you're going to be a man or a woman, you don't know if you're going to be white or black or Hispanic, you don't know if you're going to be from America or somewhere else. Now decide on policies, right?
Okay. Mhm.
Now decide on the ones that's going to work for everybody because this society has so much. America and the entire world, we have so much. It's just about sharing it correctly. There's no reason why we should have all this. You
Mhm.
know, one of my favorite quotes is um, the opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice, right?
Oh,
Can
interesting.
we develop better policies? Yes, but we have to do it even if it doesn't impact us directly, but it impacts other people. And so if I could get people to develop policies based on that, I think we'd have a much nicer system.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, thank you again for doing this. I think that we're at an important point in American history where we're trying to develop the best way forward. My campaign's trying to show a way. If people like it, they can go that way. I'm happy to follow other ways if people don't like mine, because I just think we need to get in a better place as a country. And I think that if we can all work to try to do something a little bit different, try to do something a little bit better, we can make this country back to where it needs to be. So that's what I hope that happens in this election cycle and the election cycles that come after this.
Right. So, this is Focus on the Candidates. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today has been Justin Ford. Justin Ford. So if you like this channel, please subscribe to the channel. And thank you, Justin. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a wonderful day.